We continue the book of Divrei Hayamim. We're up to chapter 5, fifth chapter, and we had the genealogy of Yehuda, because that's the main thing, is the King David and Davidic dynasty, and then we had Shimon, the tribe of Shimon, who lived south and sort of became incorporated to an extent with the tribe of Yehuda, and then after that we go to where you would think, in many ways, the census Bnei Yisrael would begin. Uvnei Reuven Bechor Yisrael, the oldest child of Yaakov, Reuven, Ki hu haBechor, uvechalalo Yitzue Aviv Natna Bechorato Livnei Yosef Ben Yisrael Velo Lehityachesh La Bechora. So the firstborn son is Reuven, but he defiled his bed. This is, he sleep with his father's concubine after the death of Rachel. It's an assertion of dominance. Think of the animal world. If you, right, the dominating party gets the females of the herd, and that's in a sense what Reuven did. And by doing so, he defiled his father. His father was still, he believed, Yaakov believed, I'm in charge, not my son Reuven. And so the firstborn status was taken away from Reuven as a result of that. And that's what it says here, and it's a lesson about, doesn't matter, birthright doesn't determine everything. Ki Yehuda gavar be'echav ulenagid mimenu abechor Yosef. Judah eventually became more powerful than his brothers, and a leader came from him, yet the birthright belonged to Joseph, and that's, of course, is polemic. I mean, it's true. It's not a statement that's a lie, but obviously it has this sort of polemical nature to it, because this is a book about the kings from the tribe of Yehuda. And so now that we've had that sort of the narrative, or the story to explain what's going on, now we get to the genealogy, continue that. Bnei Reuven Bechor Yisrael, Chanoch, Ufalu, Chetzron, V'charmi, the sons of Reuven, right? The Bnei Yoel, Shemaiah, Beno, Gog, Beno, Shimi, Beno. So the sons of Yoel, and another son, Micha, Beno, Raya, Beno, Baal, Beno. In verse 6, Be'era, Beno, Asher, Hegla, Tiglat, Pil, Eser, Melech Ashur, Hu Nasil Reuveni. And we get to now Be'era, who King Tiglat-Pileser. There's a nun in the name. More often we don't have the nun, it's Tiglat-Pileser, but here's Tiglat-Pil Esar, the king of Assyria, exiled. Usually it's described as being Sancheiriv, in other places Tiglat-Pileser. These are the kings who exiled the 10 tribes, the Aseret HaShvatim. And so Reuven might have been the firstborn, should have been the most powerful, but chose to live on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, and he, like the other tribes other than Yehuda and Binyamin and some of the Kohanim and Leviim, were exiled early on in the 8th century, if I'm getting my BCEs correct, in the year about 722 before the Christian era. And his brethren, their families, according to their lines, that's were Yeiel and Zechariah, Uvela ben Azaz ben Shema ben Yoel, who Yoshev be'aror the Ad Nevo, Uval Ma'on, and Bel, the son of Azaz and the son of Shema, lived in Aroer as far as Nevo, and Baal Ma'on. Of course, Nevo we know is a Har Nevo is the place that Moshe goes up to, and is taken by God. He also got to be the tribe of members from the tribe of Reuven, as far east as the wilderness of the sides of the Euphrates, because they had much cattle in the land of Gilad. And of course, this comes back to the end of the book of Bamidbar, when Reuven and Shimon, and later God. I say Reuven, and then afterwards I automatically say Shimon, but Reuven, God, and then later half the tribe of Manasseh asked Moshe, requested to stay on the eastern bank of the Jordan River rather than cross into what today we call Israel, back then the land of Canaan. And continuing verse 10, in the days of Saul, they made war. They had a war against the Hagarites, who were defeated by them, and they occupied their tents throughout the entire region of the eastern region of the Gilad. Presumably, commentators understand that the Hagarim are the descendants of Hagar, Yishmael, right? We might call it the Arabs today, but now we go from Reuven, and we don't stay with the sons of Leah, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. We have already made the four first children of Leah are usually categorized together. We have Yehuda because he's the primary, he's the alpha in this book. We have Shimon, who is sort of subsumed into the tribe of Yehuda. And now we have Ruvain, but we don't have Levi. Of course, the Levian don't receive an inheritance in the same way because they served in the temple as Kohanim, as priests, and as Levian. So who do we categorize together with Ruvain? The tribe of God, because the tribe of God was the other tribe that came and asked Moshe to remain on the eastern bank of the Jordan River to not cross the Yarden into Canaan. Uvnei Gad, or in verse 11, L'negdam Yashu Be'eretz HaBashan, Ad Salcha, Yoel Harosh, V'Shafam HaMishneh, V'Yaini V'Shafat B'Bashan. So we're told one's name Yoel, and Shafam was the second in charge, and Yana and Shafat were in charge in Bashan. V'Achreihem, Leveit Avotehem, Michael, U'Mishulam, V'Sheva, V'Yorai, V'Yakan, V'Zia, V'Aver, Shiva. And there are different clans with these names. Michal, Meshulam, Sheva, okay. These are the clans. Ela ben Avichail, ben Huri, ben Yaruach, ben Gilad, ben Michael, ben Yishi, ben Yechdo, ben Buz. And these are the sons of Avichail, the son of Huri. And it gives going all the way back to Yachdo, the son of Buz. Achi ben Avdiel, ben Buni, Rosh Leveit Avotam. Yeshiva Gilad, the Bashan of Noteo, Bechol Migroshe Sharon al Tototam. They dwelt in the Gilad, in the Bashan, and in the lands all around it, all the way to the Sharon. Kulam Hityachshu, Bimei Yotam al Chido, Bimei Yeravam Melech Yisrael. And all of them, when did we take this account of their genealogies? During the days of King Yotam, and in the days of King Yeravam, the king of Israel. So, this is when we know this from. This is the second temple book. We're talking about the genealogies that were a couple of hundred years before this would have been written. Continuing now, verse 18, B'nei Reuven, V'gadi, V'chatzi Shev Hashem, and B'nei Chayil, Anashim, Nosei Magen, B'cherev, B'dorchei Keshet, V'ulamudei Milchama, Arba'im, V'arba, Elef, Ushva Meot, V'shishim Yotzei Tzavam. It tells us that Reuven and Gad, and here we have introduced half tribe of Menashe. Half tribe of Menashe lives on the eastern bank of the Jordan River. Half tribe lives on the western bank. The western bank of the tribe of Menashe, right next to the territory of Ephraim, the two sons of Yosef. They had warriors with shields and swords and bows, and they had 44,760 soldiers ready for service. They made war against the Hagarites, like we saw before. Yinatnu v'yadam hagraim v'chol she'imahem ki le'elohim zaku b'milchama na'tor lahem ki v'tchuva. And they prevailed against the Hagarites because they cried out to God, because they asked God to help them in battle, and therefore God helped them, and they were successful against the descendants of Hagar. Now we're saying that, we'll see, it's a little bit of like a straw man, it's a setup. And they carried off the livestock of the Hagorim. 50,000 camels, 250,000 sheep, 2,000 donkeys, 100,000 people. Many were slain, many were killed because it was God's battle. That doesn't mean they did it to listen to jihad. It's saying that God delivered their enemies into their hand, and they lived. They dwelt in their place ad Hagolah until they were exiled. Now it tells us the third of the tribes on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, the tribe of Menashe. There are many, many people in the tribe, and they lived all the way from the Bashan to the Hermon. The Yishi, the Eliel, the Azriel, the Yirmiyah, the Hodavia, the Yachdiel, Anashim Divrei Hayamim, and Shemot, Rashim B'Beit Avotam. Right, giving us the names of their families and people of importance, the chief of their clans. But what did they do? We just learned a few verses ago, when they had a big war, they went to war against their enemies. They cried out to God. They did not remain loyal to God. They went against the mitzvot of God. They worshipped all sorts of idols, just like the people who lived there before them, who God destroyed, gave them their land. Why does God give you the land? If you're going to go in their ways, there's no point to it. Vaya'ar Elohei Yisrael, Ruach Hul Melech Ashur, Ruach Tiglat Neser Melech Ashur, Ve'agleim L'Reuven. So God got upset, and here King Pool and Tiglath, the aforementioned King Tiglath-Pileser, I'll just call him that way, even though here it's Pileser. The Assyrian kings carried them away, exiled them, the Reuven, Gad, the half the tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to a number of cities in Assyria, exiled them, and that is where they remain. Now we're told just Bnei Levi Gershom Katu Mirari, Bnei Kahata Amram Yitzhar v'Chevron v'Uziel. Right here we get into a very important tribe, the tribe of Levi. Right, we're going in the regular birth order, but Reuven is coupled together with the other tribes that wanted to remain on the eastern bank of the Jordan River, and so therefore we have Yehuda, we have Reuven, and we've had Shimon, and now it makes sense to have Levi. And so we're getting there. We have the early names, and here verse 29, names that we know very well. Uvnei Amram, Haron, Moshe, Miriam. Uvnei Aaron, Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, V'Tamar. We have the sons of Amram, Aaron, Moshe, and Miriam. So we have two sons and a daughter who is mentioned. And then the four sons of Aaron, of course, Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, V'Tamar, the original four Kohanim. Elazar holided Pinchas, Pinchas holided Avishua. Vavishua holided Buki, Vuki holided Uzi. For Uzi, who lived at Zerachia, Uzerachia, who lived at Mirayot, different, right? Starting with Aaron, Nadav, Avihu, and Pinchas, and all the different generations. Mirayot, who lived at Amaria, Vamaria, who lived at Achituv, it's 33, 34. Vachituv, who lived at Sadok, it's a little Sadok, who lived at Achimaatz. These are people who lived during the time of King David. Vachimatz, who lived at Azariah, Azariah, who lived at Yochanan, Yochanan, who lived at Azariah, who Asher Kohen Kihaim Bebayit Asher Bana Shlomo B'Yerushalayim, and Azariah was the king who reigned, who was the Kohen when Shlomo built the temple. Vayolet Azariah to Amaria, Amaria holedet Achituv, Achituv holedet Tzadok, Tzadok holedet Shalom. We're up to 39. V'Shalom holedet Chilkiah, V'Chilkiah holedet Azariah, Azariah holedet Sariah, Sariah holedet Yehotzadak. Right, we're just going one by one. Father to son, V'Yotzadak halach behaglot Hashem et Yehuda v'Yerushalayim biyad Nebuchadnezzar. And Yehotzadak was the high priest, but this is not like the earlier tribes who were exiled by the Assyrian kings around the year 722. These were the people who were exiled in the year 586, alongside the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. So here we go. We're continuing with different chapters, different tribes. We're being told again that the real tribe of importance is the tribe of David at the beginning of the chapter. If you listen to God, you win the war, you defeat the Hagarites. If you don't, you get exiled. That's the main lesson of this chapter as we continue to go through the genealogy, stating that this land that the Jews have come back to for the Second Temple period has long been our place, our history, and we should continue to have that temple, that Beit HaMikdash, that we read about building it in the books of Haggai, the book of Zechariah, read about in the book of Ezra. That is what we are doing here.